That doesn't help, does it? Happy Friday, everybody. Can you believe that this time next week we will be into July? Where's 2021 going, man? Honestly. Hope everybody's well. Had a good week and looking forward to the weekend. You may or may not have heard that there's a small football tournament happening at the moment, the European Championships. Big weekend for Wales. Wales are playing Denmark. Fingers crossed and good luck to everybody associated with the Welsh football team. Let's see if we can have a repeat of 2016 when we got to the semis. But yeah, we'll see. Anyway, what do I want to talk about today? It's a good question, really, because I've had a couple of things going through my mind in terms of what I want to talk about. We've done the employee engagement bit. We've spoken about the whys, the hows, the niche market. We've touched very briefly on gas, but I think the one thing we haven't spoken about in much detail, really, is potential partnerships. Okay, so what do I mean by that? So you'll start your podcast with, or your live stream, with kind of, I wouldn't say a defined picture, but certainly maybe a cloudy kind of idea of where you want to go. And with most things in life, what you'll find is as you're going through the journey, certain things happen. Some of those are a blessing, some of them may not be a blessing, but it's always a learning opportunity, right? So with partnerships, what I found with the podcasts that I'm involved with is that when you start to invite guests and you start to really kind of hit your stride with the consistent posting and the consistent, just the consistency of your podcast or your live stream, really, what you then start to find is the people that you get on as guests, or the people that start listening or start commenting are very kind of like-minded to you, as you'd expect, because you're speaking to your niche market. Excuse me, sir. Out of that, what I've started to find is that those guests who really resonate with you, your core values, and what your podcast is about, there may be an opportunity there to actually diversify and do something else with a particular guest. So let me give you an example. I'm involved with a wonderful PH, so a Filipino podcast based in the Philippines, surprisingly enough. And I guess the idea of that podcast is to shine a spotlight on how wonderful it is to live and work in the Philippines. So the types of guests that have been on that podcast have varied from expats to local entrepreneurs who have done good, and what they're doing is they're giving back to the community. So it's a wonderful, wonderful story to share. We recently, sorry, it's wrong to say we. Recently, there's been a guest on there who his education is American, so he went to college or went to school in America. But he's really been heavily involved in kind of the financial world in Japan. And as a result, he along with a couple of other people, launched a business in the Philippines. So we've invited him on to talk to us about his story in terms of the journey that he went through when he was launching his business here. That was why he came on. It came out that he's really keen on cryptocurrency, which is a hot topic at the moment, right? It's a super hot topic. There's a lot of people who have, particularly the average man in the street like me, have a lot of questions about it because you hear mixed reports. You hear it's a good thing, you hear it's a great thing, you hear it's a bad thing. And with most things, all of those stories are probably true, but you need that insight from an expert. So he actually approached us and asked if he could do a podcast about cryptocurrency to share kind of his science and his expertise in said field, and to allow the average man in the street, I guess, a better understanding of what cryptocurrency is. It's a wonderful, wonderful idea. And now that kind of live stream stroke podcast it's been up and running for maybe 2 or 3 months now. And it's just been very, very successful. Now, the niche market there isn't necessarily large because it's a niche market, but it's speaking to the people that want to know about cryptocurrency. As I said, it started as a podcast and now it's moved into a live stream, and it's across like 3 or 4 different social media platforms. So it just goes to show that, don't be kind of put off. I don't know if that's the right phrase. When it comes to new opportunities that you may get from your podcast, that's the thing, right? I know starting your own podcast can be a little bit scary, but it's a step into the unknown. But it's such a great unknown, and it's such a great place to be. It's just a wonderful, wonderful. I don't even know if community is the right word, because it spurred so many different ways of communicating with either your, like-minded people, your niche market, or your customers, your clients, your employees. However you decide to use the podcast, it's all there to your benefit as long as you use it correctly. So just a wonderful, wonderful story. The other thing that I wanted to speak about is, yes, that's the partnership, but then you've also got an opportunity to do different types of partnerships. So quickly pivoting over to another podcast that I'm involved in that focus on customer experience. The decision was made this year that we would focus on a book, one particular book within the CX kind of space, if that's the right word. But the beauty of that book is that it's not just one author. There's about 30 contributing authors. So what that podcast has done is that podcast has spent maybe the next like 6 to 8 weeks talking about, that's wrong to say talking, but interviewing contributing authors from that book, so that we're helping, or that podcast is helping to drive the awareness of that book, because it's such a fantastic book. So again, as a result, that's become a partnership all in itself, right? So I just really wanted to say to you very briefly that the opportunities that come up from starting a podcast, it's mind blowing, to be fair. It's just a wonderful, wonderful place to be. Just to quickly, before I go, talk about another opportunity. I think I mentioned last week that I've got involved with a community-based podcast in the UK. And last Saturday, we had a brainstorming session in terms of, right, so that's the podcast. What are the other verticals that we can look at as a result of a successful podcast? And then we started to look at different avenues, right? So yes, you can do a location podcast. You can do a guest podcast. But outside of the podcast world, we're now looking at ways that we can create something like community ambassadors, right? So people that do things or get involved in an award process or a recognition process. As I said, we haven't finalized the details yet, but it just kind of helps you crystallize, I don't know if that's the right word, opportunities or ideas that you can do based on a successful podcast. Sorry, I've just been electrocuted. Not majorly, just by a lead. Oh, that's not great. Anyway, yeah. So as I was saying, it's just I feel I'm repeating myself because I am, but it's an amazing environment to be, to look at the different avenues that you can go down from a successful podcast. I've spoken about these guys in the past, Be Sober. So Be Sober started life as a podcast, and now it's got its own little community. I think either last week or the week before, they were recognised as one of the top non-profit organisations in the UK. I apologise if I got that wrong, but it's along those lines. They also do such things as in their community, right? So they do across the UK, they do community kind of walks, they do community gatherings, they have an ambassador program, all because their podcast was a huge success. So even though you may start a podcast with one idea in mind, don't be scared or don't be concerned about the other opportunities that may come your way as a result of a successful podcast, particularly from a business perspective, right? There's opportunities there, not just from an employee engagement and from a, but also for future potential partnerships with maybe bigger clients or global clients, or however you want to look at it. So listen, apologies for the technical issues earlier. Apologies, I know today was meant to be about the Brotherhood link up. Unfortunately, the guys who were involved in that were unable to join today's show. Just to give you guys a very brief overview, the Brotherhood link up is an online event that's happening Monday in LinkedIn. It's basically a safe environment for gents, for gentlemen, for lads to go and share any issues they may have that could well be impacting their mental health. And you know, I know the guys involved. I think they're doing some great work, and unfortunately they were unable to join us today. But if you are available, please look it up, the Brotherhood link up on LinkedIn. Get involved, and just send them, you know, a lot of love and a lot of support. So we are over 24 hours away from Wales, Denmark. I just wish everybody involved with the Welsh Football Association all the best for tomorrow's game. I don't know if I've done the right or the wrong thing, but I'm going to do a live watch along with me at the time of kickoff. So I think that's 5 p.m. UK, midnight PH. So yeah, if you want to, you know, tune into my this very Facebook link, and you know, the podcast coach link, where I will be watching, and you will see me suffer for 90 minutes, potentially more, as Wales play Denmark in the last 16 of the European Championships. Hopefully, we can repeat our feat of 2016. I think, in my opinion, we've done extremely well to get out of the group. That was not to be expected. So we are where we are. Let's just see how long this journey lasts for. And as we used to say in 2016, right? I just don't want to go to work. Right. So listen, have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Please get in touch. Any podcast questions, any live stream questions you may have, we are here to help. So please get in touch, and let's see if we can help each other out. All right, guys, have a wonderful week. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you next Friday when we'll be into July. Can you believe it? Anyway, take care, everybody. See you soon. Bye.